Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast. Dude, we're getting closer to deer season, man. So this episode is probably going to have a lot of, maybe I want to say tips and tactics. It's going to have a lot of hunting stories too. But this is going to be an episode with my buddy John Stanley, who I call the legend. This dude is honestly one of the most well-decorated hunters I think I know. I've seen his trophy room. Man, he knows how to put some animals on the ground. Dude, I mean, for real. Like, I'm probably gonna post up a video if he lets me of his trophy room because it's wild, dude. He knows how to kill big deer. He's killed a bunch of exotic animals, Alaskan animals. I mean, just a bunch of stuff. So all of that's going to come out in this podcast. John is a really good dude, great Christian man. He actually is the father of my buddy Andrew Stanley, who was on the podcast not that long ago. And we are also going to have Andrew's brother Austin on in, I think, 2 months or sometime in July. Honestly, I don't remember. I have to look at the schedule. But before we get started with that, obviously, I got to do the partners. First up is going to be Osseo gear. I've got my Osseo ready, locked and loaded. Gonna probably clean it a couple more times before season because we only have, gosh, dude, I think it's less than 3 months. I mean, really, like there's like no time left. So my Osseo is gonna get cleaned. It's gonna get put in the tote. Gonna camo dust it down, and it's gonna be ready to go and hide me in the tree when I'm going out there trying to kill these deer. So if you want to, get some Osseo, your time's running out a little bit, but you can always buy it during season. But they are going to be running some deals, I know, here soon. And so go to osseogear.com, check out everything they have, and also use our code SEBH. It'll save you 15% at checkout. Next up is going to be VPA. Look, Vantage Point Archery, man, some of the best broadheads on the market. I mean, really, their Omega is amazing. I guess the cat's out of the bag now, so I can talk about it. But they are going to be dropping this new version of the Omega that comes with bleeders. I don't know all the details on it yet, but that is definitely a broadhead I'm going to be using this year. Hopefully Jeff and Ryan don't get mad at me for saying that, but they were on another podcast recently talking about it. So I feel I can tell you guys about it. VPA, is American made, by far the best broadheads I've ever used. And I am so, so blessed to be able to work with them. Just like all our other partners. Really, I am very excited to get my arrows with my VPA broadheads out there this year. So go to vparchery.com, check out everything that they have. They actually started selling victories, as some of you obviously who listen to the podcast or watch this know, or even follow us on, YouTube YouTube and probably Facebook, everything else. We just partnered up with Victory Archery. And VPA is selling victory arrows on their website. So go there if you want to get some arrows, if you want to get some broadheads, you can get everything you need to get out in the woods, aside from a bow and all the other accessories. But go to vparchery.com, use the code SEBH10, and that saves you 10% site-wide. Next up is going to be Summit Tree Stands. As you know, I've got my Dual Threat Pro SD. Best tree stand I've ever sat in, ever used, all that stuff, man. It is going to be crucial this year for my deer season to get me in and out of those trees quietly and hopefully be able to put some bucks on the ground. So yeah, go to summitstands.com, check out everything they have. If you're procrastinating and you're not ready yet, or you don't have your tree stand, or you want to buy accessories, whatever you want to get, go to summitstands.com, use our code SEBH15 to save 15%. And look, man, you won't be disappointed with it. Next up is going to be Scout Tech. I actually was just talking to Ryan about everything that's going on with Scout Tech. They have a new app update, which is amazing. My Scout Tech cameras have been blowing up. I got pictures of Trike on there pretty much every day. He's kind of got a weird pattern right now, but my Scout Tech cameras have been so good. And the solar panels are amazing. I haven't had to change batteries. Battery life on ones that do have batteries that don't have solar panels lasts so long. And they are going to be coming out with even more stuff, man. I hear rumors about there being unlimited data plans soon. So keep your eyes out on Scout Tech. They actually have a deal going on right now where you can buy 2 cameras for $100. So go to scouttech.com, check out what they have. I'm working on a code. If I have a code, I will do a quick little update throughout this episode. As I'm editing, I'll throw it in there real quick. But and I'll also post it on all the socials. But if not, you can still go there. They're running a really, really good deal. You don't want to miss it, man. So Scout Tech, Ryan, thank you guys for everything. And I can't wait to put these cameras to use even more this deer season. Next up is going to be Obsession Bows. As you can see behind me, I've got my HB 33. That bow's been shooting great, man. I was shooting broadheads, what was it, 2 days ago. And I mean, bullets, man, like really darts flying amazing. So if if you're also procrastinating or you can't make your mind up on a bow, check out obsessionbowsrefuel.com. Find a dealer near you and go shoot some of their bows, man. Really they're a good made American made product, and they're sturdy, they're fast. The draw cycle on my bow is not harsh at all, even though it shoots 348 foot a second. That is IBO, that is not real world speed. With mine, I think I'm shooting like 280s. But still, 72 pounds, 27.5 inch draw. That's pretty stout. So yeah, Obsession Bows, go check them out. Gosh, dude, who else am I forgetting? Ace Social Circle. Go check them out if you want to get your bow tuned up or if you want to buy some stuff. They sell literally everything you would need. Bergie Bowsmith, dude, awesome bow tech. He has been hoofing it lately. He's putting out like 30 bows a month, and probably more than that. So go check him out. The Boutique, last week's episode, Michael Stonebreaker, literally the coolest name I think I've ever heard. Awesome dude. He's got some raps coming. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z. So he made some Southeastern Bow Hunter Dragon Ball Z collab raps, and they are awesome. They are so cool, man. Gosh, I think that's pretty much everybody. If I forgot anyone, I'm sorry. A little update on Trike real quick. I know this intro is kind of long, but there's been a lot going on. So Trike has grown immensely. There's a little bit of a problem though. Last night, so I'm recording this on the 19th. So on June 18th, I got some photos right before I went to bed, and it was Trike. And he has broken off his main beam after his G2 on his left side. Now, what that means for his growth, I don't know. I know he pretty much sheds his velvet middle of August. So I'm hoping that he either maybe goes non-typical or grows that beam back. I do have protein out there. So, it's not like he's going hungry, but it's a little stressful, man. It kind of sucks because he really is growing like a lot. He's going to be probably the biggest deer that I've ever killed size-wise. I wouldn't say score-wise, but as far as, mass and beam length and height and all that stuff, spread, I mean, it's insane. So we'll see what happens. That's kind of an update on him. Everything else, we have a lot of stuff going on. I know there's a bunch of shows that I may or may not be at. Obsession is going to be at the Buckarama. They're going to be at the GOM Outdoor Blast. And there was one more show Dennis just told me about, and he's going to probably listen to this and be mad that I don't say it, but it is what it is. So go check them out. I know VPA is literally everywhere right now. But yeah, man, so that's kind of the update. Before we start the episode, I do this every week. And for those of you who listen and enjoy this part, I appreciate it. For those of you who skip it, I get it. But if you don't know our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, man, I really hope you get to know him. Just give him a chance. I mean, really, I've been down in the deepest hole before, and he has pulled me out every single time. There's a lot of stuff personal life wise that's going on that can drag you down, but with him by my side and with me and knowing that he's got my back, it's a lot easier to get through it. And for those of you struggling too, he's the perfect person to turn to. If you don't know him, open your Bible, go get a Bible, get the Bible app. I don't care how you do it. Just give him a chance and start building that relationship with him. I'm not going to push it on anybody, but I have had a few people reach out and say they appreciate, that I'm willing to talk about this, because a lot of people aren't open about it. And I feel called to, serve, and I try to do that the best I can, and also spread the word. I mean, that's kind of why we're here, right? For people to be saved and turn to Jesus to get saved. So, yeah, preacher moment over. I'm sure this is going to come up in our episode with John, but you know what? That's a long intro. It's probably the longest one I've done in a little bit. So I'm sorry, guys. But let's get into it with the legend, John Stanley. All right, guys. We have the legend, the man whose trophy room puts mine and everybody else's I know to shame. Uh, he has been bow hunting for a while. He's got a crazy track record, been everywhere I want to go. Mr. John Stanley. And if you don't know him, that is the father of a previous guest, Austin Stanley, or I'm sorry, Andrew Stanley. We're going to have Austin on later this year. So first, before we get into all the nitty gritty stuff, man, how's things been going, John?
Doing good, doing good. I just got found out yesterday that I got drawn for antelope in Wyoming. So me and the Air Force buddy are going. Season opens August 15th, so we're headed out there. Got my new bow tuned. Been shooting every day. Even if it's when I walk down in the basement, I've got a target down here in a room in the back. Even if I just shoot a couple arrows a day in my busy retired life, I like to do that. So yeah, I've been shooting and a little family vacation stuff. But we're about to get wired up here and get ready for Wyoming, and then deer season will be here before you know it. So yeah, life is good, man.
Yeah, man. You say deer season be here before you know it. I have been, if I'm not working or doing this or spending time with the family, I'm doing deer stuff, and it seems like it never ends. And these deer, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit of what's been going on here lately, just real quick. So these deer I've spoiled apparently. They're super picky because in Georgia we can bait, right? Like we put food out, it's legal, all that stuff. I do it year round, and I guess I've been buying too good of or too much of the good stuff because I'll usually get like some Antler King blocks or buck bourbon or some of the higher, I'm not gonna say higher end, but like the more protein related stuff rather than just corn.
Yeah,
So last week I go to put out a Analogics 365 block in one of my spots, thinking because I've used it before and it worked great, thinking it's gonna be a hit. I've had one doe and one small buck, and that's it. And it's like they don't even want to touch it. And in another spot, I went to a local place around here. I don't even remember the name of what the block was, but some like local brand, I guess. And they ate half of it and weren't even showing up. And normally, any food I put out, they hit it. So I'm excited for deer season, but I don't know what is going on with these deer, man. Have you ever dealt with something like that?
oh yeah, and no, it can be something as simple. I've had the same issues. We just run corn in the summer with our cameras. Our hunting club in Rockdale County, we voted just as a club not to bait, not to put out corn, and I'm perfectly fine with that. In fact, it's some of my buddies. It's kind of a hassle. It's just one more thing you have to do during deer season, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So we run corn all summer and a bunch of cameras, and it's just like a kid at Christmas getting the cell phone pics and all that. But yeah, I've definitely seen that, and it can be something, and I really don't know why, as simple as moving your bait 100 yards, and then all of a sudden there's a bachelor group of bucks, and I've gone from the same thing, having nothing but maybe a doe and a fawn every day, the same, uh, you know, does come in over and over and over, and then I'll move it a little bit, and there's that bachelor group of 6 or 7 shooter bucks, and we usually get at least one, if not two, of those really good groups every summer. But then they'll be coming in day after day, and there's something about changing up the feed too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. Sometimes they don't like it as well, and it takes them a little while to get used to it. They'll eventually eat it if you leave it there long enough. But yeah, I've seen that too. But I don't know. It's crazy how sometimes just a little movement, or all of a sudden they'll show up, and then you've got them for the rest of the summer, through their summer feeding pattern, and then of course in about late September, all the bucks disperse, and you have no idea where they are.
So it sounds like I have a lot more work to do. Of course. It never ends, man. Well, that was just, my quick little question, my quick little complaint. But what can you so I think I've known you now for like what, 2 years. I've known the boys since I was a kid. Me and Austin grew up
Yep.
together. Or Austin, I keep saying that. Me and Andrew grew up together. I didn't meet Austin until like middle or high school, but me and Andrew, I mean, I remember going to elementary school with him, and I had no
Oh
idea that
yeah,
you guys hunted. And it literally just it blew my mind when I was hunting down the road from you guys for like 2 or 3 years, and he reached out, or either I reached out to him or he reached out to me. I don't remember, but I do know that that kind of reconnected us. So how did you get into hunting? Because you getting into hunting led to that, which is crazy to me. So like
Yeah.
what's the story of the legend John Stanley?
I don't know about the legend thing, but so my dad, who was a true legend in my mind anyway, he was a big hunter from Mississippi, West Point, Mississippi. Grew up fishing and hunting on the Tombigbee River. Actually, there was a while in between jobs that he would fish for a living. They ran trot lines and limb lines and baskets and all that. He actually sold catfish to the local restaurants. He caught one year. He was in fish camp and somebody had a new 22 and shot a red bird, and he got that thing, put it on a limb line, caught a 98-pound blue cat. So yeah, he
Wow.
said that they used to catch 30 and 40-pound catfish that nobody would even, you know, didn't make a stir at all because that was so common where he grew up. But he said that 98-pounder, man, people were coming by the house, and he said that was a big deal. So he knew it was a monster. But anyways, he grew up fishing, hunting a lot. They didn't have a lot of deer in Mississippi at the time, but he was a big bird hunter. Best wing shot I've ever seen. When I was a little kid, he had I still have it, L.C. Smith double barrel 12 gauge, and he would carry three or two shells, spares, in between his fingers. I saw him on a covey rise kill two birds, open it up, pop two more in, and killed a third bird before they got out of sight. Yeah,
Oh wow.
he was amazing. So just from the time I could crawl, I would say I was following him around. He was taking me with him, and just fell in love with hunting. And then we moved to Georgia. And it's a funny story. My dad was not a bow hunter, big gun hunter. Really back, I mean, I'm 64, so we're talking been bow hunting for 56 years. So we're talking a long time ago. Back in the 70s in Georgia, there weren't many bow hunters at all. We were in hunting club. I think there was one other guy who bow hunted, but when we would go down there scouting, and we scouted during the bow season, and I would see this guy with his recurve, and I was just mesmerized with that thing. I kept telling my dad I wanted one. Well, a few weeks later, my sister, who went to College Park High School, they had archery in PE, and apparently they got some new bows. I'm talking the little fiberglass, recurve bows, real small. And the coach, they would get new ones, so the coach gave her that bow. She brought it home because she used to shoot a little bit of PE, and she never did anything with it. And I saw that thing, and so she gave it to me. My dad bought me one arrow. I had one cedar practice arrow. And so when I lost it, man, I had to go. I used to scratch up leaves and I had to find my arrow because I had nothing else to shoot. But I got that thing and became obsessed with it in the backyard. Just shooting and trying to kill squirrels and shooting at targets or whatever. So that's the story of how I got into archery. And then I killed my first deer. First deer I ever killed when I was 11 years old, Jasper County, near Shadydale. Was down there with my dad. So it was Halloween weekend. Gun season was about to start. Like I said, he was not a bow hunter, but I had been down there a few weekends with him and bow hunt a little bit. And so they were really scouting for gun season and getting ready to go home that afternoon. And he said, I want to go check one of my stands. So there was another stand like on the way in. I mean, right off the road. And I'm 11-year-old kid, and I didn't know any better. I thought, Daddy, let me get up in that stand, and I'll kill one while y'all are out scouting. He said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I got up in the stand. 20 minutes later, here comes a big doe coming in, and she stopped on this little knoll. I think we later stepped it off. It was like 35 yards. And I had a Shakespeare and a Seda recurve, cedar arrows, bear razor heads, the actual bear razor head, and I had 4 of them in a quiver. And that doe came out there, and I shot right up under her, and she just stood there. I got another arrow in, and I remember there was a guy, the only guy who bow hunted on our club, had been shooting with me a little bit that morning camp, and he gave me a few pointers because I kept shooting low. And as I'm getting ready to draw back, I remembered what this guy said. So I came up, no sights or anything, and I came up a little higher, and I hit that doe right behind the shoulder. I mean, lung shot. She ran off. Uh, I had a police whistle that my dad had given me. He said, "You ever get in trouble, don't you blow this thing unless something bad has happened."
Yeah.
And I got so excited. I pulled that whistle out and I blew for all I was worth. I was so excited. And probably 10 minutes later, here comes my dad and his hunting buddy running down the road. They just knew, because we had some wild dogs down there. They knew the dogs had gotten me, or I'd fall out of a tree. Last thing on their mind is that my 11-year-old son just, killed a deer, shot a deer with his bow. And he came up and said, "What happened? What happened?" I said, "Daddy, I just shot a big doe. I saw the arrow hit her." And I really don't think he believed me. He said, "Okay, just stay right there. I'm going to walk down and you tell me where it is." And he got down there. He's looking around. I said, "No, a little further." And I know he's thinking, "You can't shoot this far, son," because I kept going a little further. And he got down there and looked around and said, "Well, there's some blood here." And so I got down and we trailed her probably. She ran 50 yards. And there was my first deer. And if I wasn't hooked before, I absolutely was then. So that was kind of 11 years old. It was in the local College Park neighbor paper. I guess my dad called the guy. He took a bunch of pictures that night. Nobody, funny story, nobody in my neighborhood knew that I killed that deer because I got up the day the paper came out. And I went around and stole every paper in the neighborhood because I wanted as many copies as I could have. I'm grabbing them out of their driveways. But anyway, that was the start of my bow hunt passion.
That is crazy. 11 years old, 35 yards.
Yeah.
With a recurve.
I still have it. It's hanging in my other room in there. Yeah. It's the only deer I ever killed with a recurve. And after that, I kind of I got my first compound and kind of moved up from there. But yeah, I'll never forget that first year. I mean, every detail, I can see it in my mind right now.
See, I've shot I think it was a recurve. I don't even know. I don't really know a lot about trad. But when we had the bow shoot back in April, I had a bunch of buddies come out and a few of them, shot trad, and they're like, "Oh man, give it a try." I was like, "Dude, I don't know. Like with my luck, I'll snap this thing in half because I don't even know how to draw it back correctly, right?" And I was shooting 10 yards and was hitting high. And I couldn't even, it's so different than like my compound that I couldn't even get it fully back. So I'm like probably 3/4 draw and just letting it fly. And so to hear that at 11 years old, you shot 35 yards and hit anything is my mind's blown. Like that's insane.
Yeah, I think it was a 40 or 45 pound bow, and I couldn't pull it back all the way either. I would get back about 3/4.
Yeah.
But I was pretty good with it. It's kind of like throwing a baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing third base and you field a ball. You don't stop and go, okay, the first baseman is 6'2" and he's all the way across it. You don't do it. You don't think. You just react. And the guys who are really good at that, it's all reaction. Now, I couldn't shoot very well with it now because I hadn't shot it forever. But you pick it up, you'd be surprised at how well you would do with a little practice.
That's just crazy. I literally have to give you the most respect I can for that. I mean, and just aside from everything else you've done, that is insane. So, but speaking of everything else you've done, so you've gone, I mean, clearly behind you, Alaska, at least once or twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's that like? Because my dream hunt is a caribou hunt with my bow. And I know you've killed a few caribou, you've killed a moose, mountain goat, all that stuff. I mean, what is that like? Because I've never experienced anything remotely close to that.
Well, I mean, first off, congratulations on dreaming that big.
Thank you.
That's how I started. When I was a little kid, 5 or 6 years old, I remember my dad's buddy subscribed to Outdoor. Our family's pretty poor. I mean, we were just happy and a great family, but we didn't have a lot of money. So my dad didn't subscribe to magazines or anything. He was big into hunting. We used to walk up to our neighbor's house with his hunting buddy, and he had this stack of Outdoor Life magazines. He actually ended up giving them to me. But I walked in one day, I saw a moose. I guess I was 6 on the cover of Outdoor Life, and I still remember that. And I told my dad that day, I said, "I'm going to kill a moose with my bow one day." So that was my dream forever. And actually, for my 50th birthday, ended up pulling it off up in British Columbia. But yeah, caribou in Alaska. caribou are kind of made for bow hunting.
Mm-hmm.
They're it's not like a whitetail where you can hunt the same one for weeks and the wind gets you and all this stuff. Caribou, spot and stalk, and they're not quite as wary, but they're just I'm absolutely obsessed with caribou. I think they're the coolest animals. But the thing about at least my trip to Alaska was it was the adventure. I mean, I think of the adventure on my hunts as much as anything. I
Mm-hmm.
look, all the animals I have here. My biggest, when I come down here on a Friday afternoon and have a beer and kind of walk around or whatever, I'm looking at the pictures because I'm a picture freak. That's as much of a trophy to me as anything. And I love to take pictures and stuff I found, horseshoes I found wherever. But it's just the adventure. And Alaska was like that. The first time that you go in on a true Alaskan adventure and going on a floatplane, which I've done several times. The floatplane lands on a gravel bar or whatever. You get out, you and the guide, and then he cranks up and takes off. And you're watching that little Piper cub get smaller and smaller and smaller. Then all of a sudden it's gone. I can't explain that feeling, but it's like once you ever do it, you want more of it. It's just the most awesome feeling that you're truly in the middle of nowhere. Some of these hunts I've been on, my uh, outfitters have told me, said, John, you're going to walk in places that no man or maybe an Indian maybe had walked before, but it's truly wilderness. And that's what gets me excited. I mean, I love to hunt Georgia and I love to hunt whitetails, but there's something about going to hunt animals that I can't hunt here and other destinations. But if you've got that in your heart and mind now, you need to make that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
because it's an unbelievable feeling, stuff that you'll never forget.
Yeah, I mean, so I started hunting 5 years ago, but my entire childhood, man, was just every fall, I'm playing big game hunter, I'm playing deer hunter, I'm playing all those games because like I didn't grow up in a hunting family. My uncle hunted,
Right.
right? But I was living in Illinois at that time before we moved here, and I'd ask him every year, be like, "Hey, Uncle Johnny, can we go?" And I've said the story 1,000 times, but he never took me, and I didn't realize that they weren't going actually like they were hunting, but they weren't out there strategizing. They weren't out there, bow hunting and getting within 20 yards of these animals and stuff like that. They just went and shot whatever they wanted to shoot. And, so that being said, having played those games and watching, Outdoor Channel and all that and Bone Collector and Real Tree and all those guys, seeing those Alaskan hunts, if I went on, because back in the day, we didn't have streaming, we didn't have any of that. So you had to actually flip through the channels, right? And I'd see like on the TV guide, it said Alaskan caribou or Alaskan moose or Alaskan anything. And I would instantly, no matter what I'm doing, focus on that. So that has always been like a big thing. I know it costs a lot, but it's worth it. And I got to experience it at least once. So hearing you say that just gets me so hyped up to do it whenever I get to do it, God willing. But yeah, man, I mean, I've heard that before from other people, though, that when you go out there and it's like dead quiet, you're like 100 miles from the nearest town. It's a completely different feeling. And it honestly freaks some people out because they're so used to all the noise we have nowadays. So, I mean, did you ever experience that? Or is it kind of just you were there and you're like, oh, I'm meant to be here kind of thing?
No, it never really freaked me out. It was more like an awesome feeling, just like I wanted more of that. And like I said, you can't really explain. It's one of those things you have to just be there, and feel it. But just the true wilderness and Alaska's. So I was in the Air Force. I traveled around the world for 20 something years. Mm-hmm. But Alaska is as beautiful a place as I've ever been, and just the wilderness there. I did a hunt up above the Arctic Circle, which was another level from even some of the other hunts that I had done. It was like 3 bush plane flights to get to where we were going to go and land on a gravel bar. But it's just absolutely beautiful. You talk about stars, and I actually got to see the Northern Lights one morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to pee, and I got up, walked out of the tent, And I've got pictures of it. I was just absolutely stunned because I don't know if I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't the time of year that they were real prevalent, and my guide hadn't seen anything about them. But if you don't believe in God, you need to see the Northern Lights because you can't explain that away any other way. I mean, that's just one of the God things. I mean, I was absolutely stunned. But yeah, it's stuff that as I talk about it to you right now, I kind of get that feeling and that tingle. And I got to get my voice now. We did a elk hunt in Wyoming last year. I mean, horseback, 16 miles in and all that. It was awesome. But they haven't. I got to get them on that true wilderness, Alaska, British Columbia, or wherever, because that's even another step above. And it's just something that you've got to experience. But there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Man, you get me excited. Oh, I love hearing that. Yeah, so I was gonna bring up that hunt. So you guys went to Wyoming over what was it, last year, right?
Last September, yeah.
On an elk hunt. And Andrew was successful, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was the only one of us who killed a bull. I researched that hunt because I had been on a couple of horseback hunts, and those were my favorite. There's something about horses, and I had never, where I went on those hunts, I had ridden a horse one time, so I know nothing about horses, but they're so huge and they're so awesome, and I wanted them to experience that. So I found an outfitter out of Cody, Wyoming, Livingston Outfitters, and he hunts in the Shoshone wilderness. And so we went in, I think it was like 8 hours on horseback, 16 miles or so, getting in just to get to base camp. And it was just unbelievable. Andrew was the only one who killed a bull. Austin and I, we had two guys for the three of us. I didn't do a lot of hunting until Andrew tagged out. Then I had a guide. I'll go with him, and I would have had an opportunity. But I really wanted Austin to kill one because I'd taken Andrew to Africa, and we'd had a great time over there. And Austin had never experienced that kind of hunt, and I really wanted Austin to kill one. But honestly, the only reason I wouldn't go back with that outfitter, the great guy, super successful guy, but that terrain was so rough. I really thought that elk would be coming down. We camped on this meadow and kind of the lower lands on the river. It just looked like prime elk habitat. When you see them coming across the meadow and they're calling them in, for whatever reason, all the elk were between 9,000 and 11,000 feet. So we would leave before daylight on horseback and ride up to, I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 feet, tie off the horses, and we still had to climb just to get to where the elk were. And you kind of had to guess right as to where they were, because if you weren't on elk that morning, and you might see them, they had a big burn out there, so you can see forever. You might see them several miles away, but in order to get there, it's not like some of the other places that I had elk hunted. You had to get back on the horse, ride all the way back down to the river, go up the river, and then go up and keep that. So it was not very conducive to moving on, elk. Like you hear them bugling and, he's, half mile this way, we're going to go cut him off. You really couldn't do that very easily there because it was so daggum tough. I was proud of we trained real hard for that, and I was proud of myself. I went everywhere. I'm 63 at the time. Went everywhere the boys went. It took me a little longer to get there, but I made it everywhere. It was an absolute ball buster of a hunt. But it just, Austin saw elk, saw a 370 bull, an actual giant. I wasn't with him that day, so we saw a lot of elk, but he never even got a shot. But Andrew killed a beautiful bull. In fact, it's ready at the taxidermist now. We'll get ready to go get it. It's probably, he hadn't had it scored, probably a 280, 290 bull. But yeah, it was a fantastic hunt.
Yeah, when I saw that, so it was kind of funny because when you guys went, that was right either after or before we partnered up with BPA. And I saw that Andrew was using one of their broadheads, and I was like, hey, man, what did you think about those broadheads? And he was like, oh, they're really good. I was like, yeah, well, if you want any more, let me know. I was like, I'll hook you up. But yeah, man, see, that's the thing is like I've got a plan kind of in motion right now to go to Colorado next year. As long as I can still get an over-the-counter mule deer tag, that's the plan.
Oh, now they just stopped selling over-the-counter elk tags.
I know. That's why I'm worried. I saw it. It's like, oof.
I mean, I
So
just saw that like yesterday. Now that's
yeah,
really going to rock a lot of people's world. But you're talking about deer hunting,
yes, yeah.
right? Oh,
See,
okay.
I like elk. They're cool, but my house isn't big enough, at least not down here, to hold one. Uh, so mule deer, there's something honestly between like all the deer species, caribou and muleys are my two favorite to watch videos on, look at, whatever. Um, so that's kind of what I'm working towards is either doing that or going to like Nebraska or some Western state that's
Yeah.
got muleys. Because I'll tell you what, man, whitetails are cool and I love hunting them, but they got nothing on muleys, in my opinion.
No.
So that hearing, I've been talking with buddies about training and hearing like the type of work you need to do. I always give them the joke, the little Debbie joke about how whitetail hunters just sit in a tree and eat little Debbie's all day, which
Yeah.
isn't true,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, man. See, that's what I was looking forward to talking to you about is like just the amount of different hunts that you've gone on, which it's almost like I want to have my life when I'm your age be like, oh yeah, this time in Wyoming or this time in Alaska or
Yeah.
British Columbia or Africa or Iraq when we were going after those goats that live over there or whatever they're called. I don't even know what they're called. I know they've got them. I don't know what they're called though. But just stuff like that it gives me something to work towards. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's why, I call you the legend because you've done everything I want to do and you're still doing it. Um, so I guess changing gears a little bit though, one thing you and I have talked about for shoot, man, year and a half is you work with I would say work with Bear Archery, right? You're on their pro staff team?
I'm on their, yes, I'm on their
Okay.
pro staff. Have been for, gosh, I don't know, 12, 14 years.
Oh wow, it's been okay. I didn't
I
realize you
actually
were that
shot
much
I
into
shot for
it.
Matthews for a couple of years, then I switched over to Bear, and yeah, I've been with them probably 12 years or so.
Gotcha. So Bear has honestly, I mean, because I started with the Bear, right? And then I was shooting one last year. I've switched now to Obsession, but either, they're still good bows at Bear. I shot the Whitetail Max,
Mm-hmm.
amazing bow. What bow are you shooting this year?
So I get my choice of every year and all the pro staffers, any bow that Bear makes. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually chose the Whitetail Max. I got it right
Oh,
here.
okay.
Just got it set up, um, got it tuned, and I've been shooting it just in the basement every day. But that's an awesome little bow. This thing is so light,
Mm-hmm.
and the draw cycle is smooth. It's quiet. It's plenty fast, and I love the new colors that they're coming out with. But yeah, so Bear. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Bear, they're not in the same class as Matthews and Hoyt. Let me tell you, the last 6 or 8 years, Bears come a long way.
Oh
They
yeah.
really have. I think. I mean, people ask me what kind of bow to get, and I usually steer them towards Bear, but it's not just because I shoot for them. I think Bear is the best bow on the market for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that you can spend more money on a Matthews and a Hoyt. But I'm gonna tell you, Bear's catching up. They're so close, and they've got everything going. The Bear bows have gotten better and better, and I just think they're a phenomenal bow. They've got Bear has their RTH packages, the ready to hunt. So you can either buy the bear bow, or you can buy, especially for somebody just getting into bow hunting, it's a little overwhelming. All right, they go to the pro shop. Well, here's your bow, whatever, $800, and then you got to get a sight, you got to get a rest, and you got to get a stabilizer and all this other stuff. It's a little overwhelming, but the ready to hunt package, the Bears has it's got quiver, it's got every. You walk out with the RTH package, and all the Bear bows except their flagship, their really top of the line bows, come in the RTH. And it's got everything on there. You go buy some arrows and you can go home and start shooting. So it's pretty cool. I'm really impressed with Bear, and they're great shooting bows.
Yeah, I mean that's been a big thing because I follow Bear religiously, like everything they do. I try to keep up with, and the new bows. And when those new bows came out this past year, I instantly, as soon as my local shop had one, I had to go and try it out. I know that I went with a different bow. There's a whole story behind that, but that Whitetail Max, honestly, was a huge step up because I was shooting the Bear Paradox last year, which is single
Mm-hmm.
cam, probably
Yeah.
the fastest single cam I think there's been in a long time, and it was a great bow. But I wanted to go back to dual cam, so I was playing around with like, okay, do I get the Whitetail Max, the Alaskan XT? I was actually looking at the Whitetail Legend Pro, which I've heard really good things about that. But I even reached out to you about all this when I was playing around with the idea, like, okay, what bow should I go with? And that's one thing about Bear that I like is they cover everything. They cover the guys who want to spend $1,200 on a bow that has
Yeah.
all the little bells and whistles, or the guy who me 5 years ago bought a Bear and it was $300, and because I got it from Cabela's, I guess they had some deal going on or whatever. But and it
Mm-hmm.
was ready to go. It had the whisker, it had the sight, quiver. All I need to do is buy arrows, and I
Yeah.
killed this deer right here with it, and it did its job, right? So that's my favorite thing I would say with Bear, and I just think it's so cool that you're pro staff with them because not only the bows that they have, but also the history behind it. Fred Bear to me is like the best bow hunter that's ever lived. So
Oh,
it's so
he's
cool, dude.
incredible. Yeah.
It's so
I
cool.
really wanted to meet him before he passed away. I had some of my buddies that actually hunted with him
Mhm.
and met him. And man, I'd give anything if I could back up time a little bit, go hunt with Fred Bear. You talk about a legend.
Dude,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a true legend.
Yeah, there will never be another Fred Bear in my opinion.
No.
I mean, honestly. I do have one question though. So you're shooting the Whitetail Max.
Mm-hmm.
What is, because when I was at TAC, they had all the new line of bows out, right? And I'd already shot the Whitetail Max, so I knew what that felt like. I checked out the Alaskan XT. They didn't have any way, I guess, for me to shoot it. If they did, they didn't offer it. I also didn't ask, so it's kind of my fault. But they had the Persist and I believe the Execute 30 and 32 up there also. So if someone was like, okay, I want the Bear bow that has everything for me, right? Like I want everything that's going to allow me to adjust it. It's going to feel good. The grip's going to be made for like the average person. What bow out of all of those would you recommend? Would it be the Whitetail Max or would it be one of the others?
I mean, if are you talking about a really experienced archer or somebody
Yeah,
wanting
someone who like, like say I came to you right now, said, John, I'm getting a Bear, but I don't know which one. I've shot the Whitetail Max, but I want to be open to other ideas. Which one out of those would you say, okay, this is the one I'm pushing you towards?
and I really like the Execute. That's the bow. In fact, I'm getting it set up for Austin now. The boys get my hand me down bows, so
Nice.
I'm setting it up for him now, moving the stuff over. But that's probably I might change my mind after a little while when I've shot the Whitetail Max some more. But that Execute of all the Bear bows through the years, and they seem to get they tweak them every year. They add there's some new technology in all their
Mhm.
bows every year. But that Execute, man, it'd be hard to beat that bow. And even if you're going with a ready to hunt package, I've sold a lot of people the Alaskan. That's
Mhm.
a mighty fine bow. Chuck Adams shoots the Alaskan, and that man can absolutely shoot any bow he wanted, and he loves the Alaskan. And it comes in now all the ready to hunt package bows. You can also just get the Bear bow if you got all that stuff and you've got quivers and you can change it over. But yeah, the Alaskan is a great bow, a tiny bit heavier, but I would try any bow. They're all different to different people. Uh, you got a pro shop where you can go shoot them. I highly recommend going and shooting all the Bear bows because every is just like cars. Some people like certain style car, and everybody's like, no, I like I mean it all. So you need to really go test drive these bows to see which one feels the best. I actually shoot them. The pro shops will let you do that, but that Execute that was probably the best Bear bow that I've ever shot.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there you go. So anybody listening, they need to just go shoot them.
Yeah,
That's basically what it
absolutely,
is.
hundred
All
percent.
right. So We have discussed a few things before we did this. There is one thing I want to ask you before we get to that, because I try to keep this around like a little bit of an hour and all that stuff. But before we get to the whole, I guess, wrap up portion of whatever it's going to be, what would you say? Give me your best, most crazy, most. I'm at deer camp. I'm going to tell my wildest hunting story. What's the wildest hunting story you have with everything that you've been able to do? If you're like, I've got one story I'm going to tell anyone, what would it be?
Wow.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I could tell stories for hours. I could tell you the one when I fell out of a tree in 1989 and broke my hip and have had 7 hip operations since then. But I won't go down that one. I'll think of, so it would either be my moose when I was 50, because like I said, that was my biggest dream. So I went to British Columbia, flew into base camp, got my license and all that, and I was with another guy that I just met. And then we flew in up the Shoshone River, landed on a riverbed. We were met by each of us had our own guide, then was a wrangler and a cook, and 18 horses were there waiting on us. And we spent the night there. The next day was a 9.5-hour horseback ride into our actual base camp.
Wow.
That was, I don't know, other than the Arctic, that's the most out in the middle of nowhere I've ever been. But so the first hunting day, I killed that moose with my bow. But if you're asking for one story, it's probably, so I killed him, and then I killed that mountain goat a couple of days later, and then I had 3 or 4 days left to hunt. Now I had killed several elk at that point, but I told Monty, my guide, I said, if we find a really cool elk, because there was a trophy feed for all these animals too, and I know my wife was going to kill me when I got home. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to shoot an elk unless we find a really cool one. Mm-hmm. So when Monty was caping out my mountain goat, we're sitting in camp, and I'm killing time looking through the spot scope. Across the river from us, I saw this bull here. It's a really cool bull. He's a 5x7, and I don't know, he was just cool the way his rack was. He was big body, and I told Monty, I said, if we can kill that bull right there, I said, I'll kill an elk if we go. And Monty, he was like the most positive guy, and he was a beast. Young guy, great hunter. And he said, all right, we'll go kill him tomorrow. I said, okay. So we got up the next morning. We actually waited. It was so close to camp, we didn't take a horse. We waited across the river. He had one pair of hip waders. He put them on, waded the river, and then tied a rock in there and slung them back to me. And I put them on, and we crossed. So we go there, and there are elk bugling everywhere. Mm. And Monty, how he knew, I don't know. He said, well, that bull, because he had seen it with spot scope there, he said, that was kind of king of the mountain there. He said, I think that's him bugling over here. I said, okay. So we take off and get in there and get set up. And he called that bull in. I mean, I'm crouched down on my knees in this little scrub oak, and he's behind me, and there's a big ditch there. And he's calling, this bull's coming in, man. And 2 or 3 cows came out of that little ditch and literally walked by me about 3 yards. I closed my eyes because I was afraid they were going to see me. They were that close. They walked by and never saw me. But that bull comes in, I'm like, oh my. And I can see his rack, 5x7. I knew that was him. I said, I'm about to kill this bull. It was crazy. So, but I think you probably smelled us a little bit, but I could see his head and his rack in this ditch 10 yards, 12 yards from me. He's just about to come up. I'm sitting there like this. And he got a little spooked and went back. All the cows went with him. We followed him. Then they bedded down. Monty said, no big deal. We'll kill him this afternoon. I'm like, okay. I like the positivity. So we had lunch and kind of hung out. About 4 or 4:30, we heard him bugle, and he said, let's go kill him. I mean, he was just very matter of fact like that. Yeah. So we take off, get in there, and I saw him feeding. Some of the cows were still bedded, but I saw him feeding. And he's kind of coming towards us a little bit. There's cows everywhere. And Monty stays back a little bit, said, you slide up there, and when you get a shot, just kill this bull. He's going to come in. I'll cow call if he's not coming in, and I'll get him in close. So he comes in, he starts angling up the mountain. And I looked, and I'm like, man, he's not going to come any closer. got my rangefinders, 46 yards, and I had one little hole like that. But I shot archery tournaments for 20 years, and I'm like, this is no different. Some of those 3D tournaments, and I'm going to kill this bull. And he comes up, going quartering away from me up the mountain, 46 yards, and I draw back and split my 40 and 50. I'll cheat fingers at the time, and I let it go, and it felt good. But I lost my. It started snowing. I lost my arrow, and the bull really didn't react. And I thought, did I miss him? I looked back at Monty, who was in binoculars, and he goes, I don't know. And I didn't have another shot. I knocked another arrow, and he goes walking up the mountain. And I'm not kidding you. This is probably 15, 20 seconds after I shot. He walked maybe 15 yards and stops and starts doing this.
Oh, man.
Rocking back and forth and falls over right there. And I looked at Monty, and he's like, oh, my God. He ran over there and bear hugged me. But I had a heart shot that bullet, 46 yards. I mean, a heart on an elk is about that big, so it's not little tiny.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd missed him, and then for him to fall over like that, so that was my third animal. I'm out of tags, and I just dropped to my knees and thank God, because it was just the most unbelievable hunt. My mom, who had passed away recently, kind of gave me the money for that hunt, and because she knew that I wanted it. So it was like I killed that bull on my mom's birthday. Wow. September 25th was her birthday when I killed that thing, and just everything that came together. There's no doubt that God was involved. My mom was cheering me on, and it was just the most. I'll never have a hunt that awesome and that successful again. I certainly don't think, but I had to pick out one hunt, one animal. My mom's birthday, the whole thing. It was that 5x7.
You got me speechless, man. That's an amazing story. And, I have to shed light on this. One of my favorite things about you is you are so open about your faith, and you've been a big part of me finding mine. And so I just want to thank you for that, for being so open and basically showing me like, hey, man, you can talk about this stuff. It's not a bad thing to talk about this. So thank you for that. And, I thank God for.
Thank you. Thank you. Because that makes my day. That's why I put that out there. And I've had a number of people, touch base with me about that, kind of saying the same thing. And you don't know what incredible feeling that is. I get more out of it to hear it than the people who tell me that. And if it brings somebody a little closer to God, because I've been so blessed, and I wasn't always that open. I wasn't always that strong in my faith. Back when I was your age, I was not. I'm impressed with you for your faith at your age now. It was kind of a growing thing as I got older, and now I'm extremely strong in my faith. Glory be to God for everything that I have. But yeah, that's thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, thank you for everything that you've done. Yeah, man. I don't know. I could go full preacher mode right now and probably have half the people listening to this tune out, which, I mean, that's unfortunate, but I feel like God was extremely involved in that, and is still extremely involved in everything you do and everything we do. He's more involved in a lot of things than people think. So I love that story, man. I really do. But you and I talked about some stuff, and I guess, to kind of get to the tail end of everything. First off, I really appreciate you coming on, but one of the things that I know we wanted to talk about was, what is some advice that you can give to hunters that may be new, that maybe are struggling a little bit? Like, what's something you want to tell people who are listening to this that maybe need advice, that are looking for it? Like, if I came to you and said, hey, John, tell me what I need to hear. What do I need to know? What am I missing? What is it that you would tell me?
Well, I won't get into actual, archery or shooting a bow or whatever, but I appreciate you giving me a few minutes, because there were a few things that I wanted to wrap up with. And this is not advice, but I wanted to tell everybody about my bow giveaway. So bow hunting has been such a blessing to me all my life. I mean, I've been blessed by bow hunting forever. It's been such a huge part of my life that I kind of wanted to give back. So this will be my 6th year that I started giving a bow away, and I've gotten involved with some other guys who they said, "Hey, I want some of that. I will buy a bow, or I'll give one of my bows." So for the last 5 years, we've given away 9 bows. So we have 9 new bow hunters right now because of this giveaway. So I try to get it out on social media. I like finding a mentor, somebody who knows a young kid who maybe wants to get into bow hunting, kind of like you when you were younger and your family doesn't hunt, but that maybe can't afford a bow or whatever. But I like having somebody who will go and take this kid hunting, teach them how to shoot and all that. Unfortunately, through social media, I've been able to find that. Like I said, 9 new bow hunters in the last 5 years. Well, I'm doing it again right now. And I really haven't had a lot of good responses. So if you can help me spread the word, but I'm giving away this this Bear Kuma, the Kuma 30, which is an amazing bow. But I don't have the arrows on. I've got some Carbon Express arrows, but this is it. I mean, this thing's fully loaded. It's ready to rock and roll. And this is one of Bear's flagship bows from 2 years ago. Austin hunted with it last year, but just an amazing bow. Everything you see on here, the React Trio site, Trophy Ridge, because Bear and Trophy Ridge, they're the same company now. And I've got Carbon Express arrow, I've got Muzzy broadheads, I've got a True Fire release laying right there, and then I usually have people. In fact, I've already had several people reach out. I've got a $150 gift card to buy these kids that we find whatever they need, targets or whatever. And I've got 2 other bows. So I have 3 bows I'm trying to give away right now. If you have a nomination, if you know someone, if you'll email me at chiefstanley9@gmail.com or look me up on Instagram, Chief Stanley. You can find me on Facebook, John Stanley. Just reach out to me and email. Tell me the story of this kid or whoever and what they've gone through and what they want to do, who you are and all of that. And in the next few weeks, I'll choose some winners. We're going to get some bows out to these kids and anything they need, camouflage or boots or whatever. I'll find a way to get it to them. I'll ship them this bow. If they live close, they can come to my house and we'll start shooting. So that's one thing I wanted to get out on here. As far as advice for the younger people, start looking at, like I said before, I love to hunt deer. I love to hunt deer in Georgia, but there's nothing like we just talked about, hunting out west on Alaska. So, and I try to teach my boys to dream big. If you don't have the dream, then you're never going to do it. Mm-hmm. So look at states. There are some states out there that you can buy points. If you want to go mule deer hunting, if you want to go elk hunting, antelope hunting, whatever, Wyoming is one of them. I started buying points 8 years before I retired for antelope, mule deer, and elk. But look at the states that have points. Kind of start planning ahead, because going on a big game hunt out west or Alaska or to Africa or whatever, it's not cheap. And it takes some planning, and to get in the really good units, because just like Colorado just went to where they're not selling the over-the-counter tags anymore, but you can still get points. But some of the states you can buy a point without applying for a hunt and tying up all this money and then waiting to see if you got drawn. You can actually buy points. So start looking at that. Whatever your dream is, whatever you want to do, start researching it now, because it'll pay off down the road when you found your outfitter or you've got the points or whatever. Just start looking ahead, which is, I guess God led me. It's what I started doing. And the reason I've had some of these amazing hunts, it takes a lot of research and a lot of planning, or reach out to me or whatever. Also, and a lot of young people don't think about it, get in shape. I mean, so I started working out right after high school. I'm 64. I go to the gym 3 or 4 days a week. I ran an ultra marathon last year. So now I'm in retirement a couple years now. So I'm about to live even more of my dreams. I'm going to Wyoming. And I'm not bragging. I've planned all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've dreamed about this, and God has led me through all this. And I want others to enjoy this too. I'm going to Wyoming in August. I'm going back to Alaska. I'm sorry, I'm going to Africa in October of 25. I've gone over there gun hunting, but I want to go bow hunting. So I've already got that booked. 3 days ago for 26. I'm trying to book a dream hunt every year until I get too old and I can't do it anymore. That's why I'm trying to do it. That's why I'm trying to stay in shape now. Yeah. I just booked an Alaska bear hunt. Oh. We're staying on this guy's 46-foot boat. It's a coastal bear hunt in Alaska, southeast Alaska. You actually stay on this guy's boat. You eat on the boat and everything. In between hunts, you run crab pots and lobster traps and all this stuff. You eat like a king on the boat, but they have a Zodiac rafts, and you cruise the shoreline. And when you see a bear, you hop in the Zodiac and you go and you stalk and then shoot. So that's another dream of mine that I just about to pull the trigger on. I just sent the guy the deposit. So,
is there any room for extra? Another guy on that? Because your boy loves crab and lobster.
It's a 46-foot boat. Let's go.
Okay, well.
So, but it reminds me of my favorite quote of all time. One thing that really inspires me. Mark Twain said, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed in the things you did not do than in the things you did do. So plan it, man. Dream big. Make this happen. Get in shape. Do your research, and just do it. There's a couple stages of life before you start having kids. That's when before I got married, had kids. I was able to slip in a dream hunt or two. And then I had to wait till much later when my kids were grown. Yeah. And I did that British Columbia thing. And now that I've retired, I've been retired 3 years. I've been doing a dream hunt pretty much every year. And so, I want other people to enjoy that. I want to hear your story. I want you to go to Alaska and then call me, all excited about the caribou you just killed. I love hunting. It's my passion. It's in my heart, and I like to see people enjoy it. That's why I give these bows away. That's why I encourage my kids, and I'm so proud of them and the dreams that they have. But, so that's my what I would have to say, and my advice because most of the people watching this are going to be younger, but just make it happen. There's nothing like bow hunting. So just get involved and help others because these young kids I give the bows to, and young kids that you can get involved and that you're going to touch it. They're the future stewards of our sport. Anti-hunters are just rampant out there now. All the crap going on around the world. We got to have somebody to fight back. We got to have somebody to donate and buy license and all this stuff and stay together to fight these idiots off. So we got to get more people in. There's so many younger kids now that are into video games and they're doing all this stuff. They're not into hunting. So we got to get them involved. So hunting will be there, just like the days of Fred Bear. I would want people to be able to enjoy that 40, 50 years from now. So.
I love it, man. Well, let me know if I can get involved in that giveaway because I have a few packs of broadheads that I'm not going to use.
Cool. Okay.
Brand new. So, if I can help donate some of those, I'm up by you guys all the time. So I can swing by and drop them off, whatever I need to do. So just let me know on that because the giveaway thing.
That's another thing. So I have people, like I have 2 more bows, but I have people doing that. They'll reach out and say, hey, what did this kid you just chose in Kansas, what else does he need? And so, just get with me. If you want to help out, man, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll look up in upstairs and what all I've got. And I'll text you a little bit later tonight and be like, hey, this is what I got. Let me know when's a good time to swing by. Because dude, I love doing that. Like we gave a tree stand away at the bow shoot earlier this year. That was awesome. We had a bunch of giveaways at that shoot. So it's a good feeling. And it's not like, like you were saying, like you're not trying to do this to make yourself feel good. You're trying to help other people get into the sport. And that's what it's all about,
And the best feeling of all those giveaways is when, and I call them kids. It's been mostly younger people that have gotten into hunting. It's one kid in Kansas killed a 140 with Andrew's bow. Andrew gave me his bow as part of the giveaway last year. This kid killed a 140 the first year he'd ever killed with a bow, and he killed it with Andrew's bow. Man, Andrew was grinning from ear to ear. Another kid, his mentor just reached out to me a couple weeks ago. I think this was, I don't remember the state now, but he killed a gobbler, his first turkey, with a bow that I gave away. He actually was shooting bullheads. This kid, his first gobbler, he shot his head off. I mean, he was aiming. He had those big bullheads, and he shot. And so the mentor was sitting next to him. But all these stories that I get back of these kids from the giveaway, getting into archery or shooting tournaments or killing whatever, man, there's nothing like that. So we got to keep that going to keep our sport strong.
Man. Well, I'm going to do my best to be involved with that every year from now on, if possible.
Amen.
Because I always have stuff that I'm willing to give away. So I guess to put it simply. But look, man, I really appreciate you coming on. This episode honestly was extremely refreshing. I know we were supposed to do it 2 months ago. I'm very happy we finally got to do it. I'm really looking forward to getting Austin on. I know I'm going to get Andrew back on. I want to get you back on. Because I mean, really, dude, we could go for hours. But I guess, is there anything else that you want to kind of shout out to everybody, or some ending words, some scripture, some words of wisdom, just anything these people need to hear?
No, I'd just like to, I call it God's Great Outdoors. I think I started the hashtag, actually. That's my one small claim to fame, because I put on all my hunting stuff, but the hashtag's God's Great Outdoors, because it really is. I mean, I call our hunting club our little slice of heaven. And every time I go down there, I thank God, especially and I know you feel the same way. When you're out hunting and you're by yourself and you're up in a tree, I just talk to God, have conversations with God. And I think there's no better way to get closer to him than when you're out there, and just thank him for the sunrise. Thank him for the maple tree that's blooming over there. Thank you for the buck that came by that you just passed up, thank you for dreaming big and in all these hunts I've got going. But we all owe it to him. It's to him be the glory. So, I guess if I'm going to close out, I got to thank the man upstairs, or none of us would be here doing this right now.
God, it's the best closeout I've had since I started this podcast. I love it. Awesome, man. Well, no, thank you. Really. I mean, seriously, I truly appreciate you taking the time out to do this, and we need to do it again soon.
Well, I appreciate you. If you ever need anything, just reach out to me. We're not that far apart. We'll get together.
Will do, brother. That sounds awesome. Thank you again, man.
All right, man. God bless, brother.
You too, boss.